I was beautiful, came into my bed. I cut his hair myself one night.
You're listening to DFZRadio.com.
Welcome to A Girl in a Garden on DFZRadio.com. This is your host, Emily, and I am live out of our Long Beach studios, running a little bit late. Actually, it's only 5:04, so not too late. Gotta love the LA area traffic, and makes me remember why I love living up in Sonoma County, because I would probably speak like a truck driver all the time if I actually drove down here, which is terrible to say. There's a lot of, I don't know, my sanity would be gone. So I gotta say I love living up in Sonoma County and being able to be by gardens and farms and all that stuff all the time. So, live show today. So this is, I'm going to read something. This is actually kind of sad. Probably not the best note to start out a Girl in a Garden show, but this is about someone who has been a guest on a Girl in a Garden before, and it's an industry member. It's Joshua from Envirotech. And I've talked with him about greenhouses before, and they've had a lot of job openings that we've talked about on the show as well. But so I really wanted to share this because it's part of the family. He's been on the show. So he has a medical fund right now, and there's kind of a situation going on with this. So in November 2014, Joshua was diagnosed with stage 3 cancerous tumor in his, I'm going to butcher this word, out the duct outside of his pancreas. So him and his medical team decided to proceed with a Whipple procedure on November 17th. And in addition to removal of the tumor, the surgery removed a third of his stomach and a third of his pancreas, various parts of his intestines, and his entire gallbladder. And so I want to share this because they have a GoFundMe right now because they need to raise some money for this. And despite having a great surgical team and a support team, there were some complications with the surgery. He had to have a second surgery, and he spent 5 days in the ICU and 13 days in the hospital for recovery. So the good news is the tumor was removed successfully with very clear margins, but 5 of the 25 lymph nodes biopsy were not clear of cancer. So it led to a diagnosis of stage 3 alpha cancer, intestinal, not pancreatic. And luckily, this cancer has a much better outlook than pancreatic cancer. So he does need some help, though. So these minus the surgical procedures totaled $560,000, and the minimum out-of-pocket requirement after insurance is $75,000. So if you are wanting to donate, there is a GoFundMe thing, and I've put a link, and I'll put a link up onto A Girl in a Garden again. And here's a little bit of background on his family. So Josh and his wife, Amber, and their 2 boys, they have an 8 and a 3-year-old, live in Berkeley, California. And they own and operate a food business called True Family Foods, and which they make True Ferments, a line of fermented food in the Bay Area farmers markets and grocery stores. He's also the head of sales for Envirotech Greenhouses in Richmond, California. So if you can help out in any way, it'd be great. He is going to be returning back to work. Actually, he already did on January 1st on a project-by-project basis. And the finances, obviously, it's kind of tough. That's a lot. So with the surgery, they've already accumulated $10,000 of unpaid medical expenses related to this. And they're waiting to hear from the insurance company so they can have more coverage. So total cost with insurance is $550,000, and the estimated final bill out of pocket is $75,000. So they have a GoFundMe. It is www.gofundme.com/Papa Joshua, and it's JOSHUA. I know I will be definitely helping out with this one. I know they're working on this fundraiser, so it's a GoFundMe for Papa Joshua. And I will have to say, from A Girl in a Garden and DFC Radio, we really hope that this goes well and he gets help that he needs. So he has been a guest on the show, and I just saw him in November at the Max Yield show. So sad, and I'm sorry I had to start the show out with that one, but I definitely wanted to share that. It's kind of been making the rounds on Facebook, and whenever somebody in the industry has something go on like that, I need to share it. And so GoFundMe.com/Papa Joshua. So sorry to start out on a little bit of a sad note. We're going to have some people call in, and we're going to be talking about gardening later on. But anytime that, if there's updates or things that's gone on with guests and people that's been on the show, I'm going to continue sharing it, if it's sad or happy or whatever it is. So the information's out there. It's on Facebook. It's GoFundMe. Papa Joshua. So there we go. So, live show. I will say I walked in, I don't know, my Sate, our sound guy's here. I probably walked in 30 seconds before I got on the radio, so I'm kind of feeling a little antsy. There hasn't been a safety meeting. Feeling a little bit stressed out. It happens. I still need to call my guests to get everyone to call in. Kind of making some plans for 2015, and that's what we're going to talk about. It's only January, but it's time to start getting rolling on the gardening. It's time to put together the budget for what you're going to spend on seeds, what you're going to order seeds, what the heck you're going to freaking plant. And yeah, so one of my friends here, he just walked into the studio. We're going to talk a little bit about gardening. He's really into seed breeding, so it's always a positive side. And I actually have a funny Tinder story, and I'm going to wait to share that until he comes in. And if you're listening, apparently Tinder is the hookup site. And I use Tinder, not in the creepy way. Apparently there is a way not to use it creepy. So I'm going to share how do you use Tinder to network with people and then end up at a cannabis cup with some really cool people that you meet from Tinder and not be creepy. So I'm going to actually, when we go to break, I'm going to come back and actually share my Tinder story. And I promise you I'm not that creepy. Well, actually, if you're in the studio, you can hear that Saint's laughing. So I'll admit I can be creepy in a good way, and I'll still laugh. So with that being said, we're going to take a little break. Emily needs a safety meeting and to calm the F down. And then we're going to talk about Tinder and how awesome it is and creepy.
I'm getting tired and I need someone to rely on. I came across a fallen tree. I felt the branches of it looking at me. Is this the place we used to love? Is this the place that I've been dreaming of? A simple thing
dfzradio.com.
A Girl in a Garden quick tip. How to get rid of fruit flies with rubbing alcohol. Put rubbing alcohol in a fine misting spray bottle. Spray the little flies. This will knock them out and makes them fall to the ground, and you can sweep them up and throw them outside. The alcohol is less effective than insecticides, but it's safer than spraying poison in your kitchen. For more tips and information, tune in to A Girl in a Garden on dfzradio.com, 5 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Here at Green Grow, we take organic gardening seriously. With our mycorrhizae products, you'll increase growth and help reduce the need to replace old, worn-out soil. We help provide electrolytes and maximize nutrient intake to make your indoor garden lush and green. So give your plants the strength that they need and breathe life into your soil with Green Grow. Find us at your local nursery or visit us at thegreengrow.com. That's the green, GRO.com.
dfzradio.com.
You're listening to A Girl in a Garden on dfzradio.com.
So she didn't have a daughter, she did have a son. She said the lift doesn't work, run up the stairs and come. And if you don't come quick, you're not gonna know that's fun. So I grab a bunch of rose and I started to run. Here I come, whoa. 2 months later, she said, come and get your son. Cause I don't want your baby to come tie me down. Not because you are old and I am young. Yes, while I'm young, yes, I wanna have some fun. Run me down, shoodly waddle diddly woodly diddly whoa. Swing, I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Yes, I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. When you go to Volcano, it's like a stage show. You have man that sing, DJ and blow. Pull it down, it's radio. Swing, and the intercom rose, it tell me to come. So she didn't have a daughter, she did have a son. She said the lift doesn't work, run up the stairs and come. And if you don't come quick, you're not gonna see your son. So I grab a bunch of rose and I started to run. Here I come, oh. 2 months later, she said, come and get your son. Cause I don't want your baby to come tie me down. Cause you are old and I am young. Just while I'm young, yes, I wanna have some fun. Run me down, shoodly wop, boom, boodly diddly whoa. Swing, extra size, extra size, extra size than size way. Extra broad, extra broad, extra broader than Broadway. And the intercom rose, tell me to come. So she didn't have a daughter, she did have a son. Here I come, shoodly waddle diddly woodly diddly whoa. Swing, cause I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Yes, I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Over the ocean and over the sea, all of the girls, them are both for we. We should rattle little diddly whoa. Sing, and the intercom rose, they tell me to come. So she didn't have a daughter, she did have a son. She said the lift doesn't work, run up the stairs and come. Cause if you don't come quick, you're not gonna see your son. So I grab a bunch of roses and I started to run. Here I come, I come. 2 months later, she said, come and get your son. Cause I don't want your baby to come tie me down. Not cause you are old and I am young. Yes, while I'm young, yes, I wanna have some fun. Run me down, shoodly wop, boom, boodly diddly whoa. Swing, cause I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Shoodly wop, shoodly wop, shoodly wop, shoodly ocean and over the sea. All of the girls, them are vote for we. Ooh-wee. Shoodly-waddly, diddly-widdly, whoa. Here I come, shoodly-waddly, diddly, whoa.
Welcome back to A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com. This is your host, Emily, and I had to take a little break, calm the F down, get a little relaxed, get out of the traffic, and my friend John has joined me.
Good
Welcome.
evening, Emily.
And so John and I have a Tinder story. So I promise you that Tinder is not just for creeps. Well, I am on it, but it's not totally for creeps. Do you agree?
Every once in a while, you meet a decent person.
Okay, that's
Every once in a while.
okay. That's probably the best way to describe it, because sometimes you like get pictures sent to you, and you're just like,
Wow.
your mother would be so proud of you right now. So every once in a while, you meet cool people. So I met John, what, a month and a half ago?
Correct.
That's about a month and a half ago, and he came up. He lives down in Southern California, and you know, you're flipping through Tinder, and yeah, it's a picture-based thing. So you kind of judge on the picture. Depends on what kind of picture. You read the description if they have something, and sometimes they're like, "I'm here for this," and you're like, "Probably gonna go throw up right now. I'm gonna swipe left. We're good." Other ones, you're like, "Hey, I'm into this," or "I'm into gardening," or "I'm up in NorCal for the Emerald Cup," or, you know, something like that. And then you're like, totally, okay, I could talk to that person. They aren't that creepy. Or we work in the same industry, and I'm used to the creeps that way. So
You got to deal with them as they come.
deal with them as they come. So I meet John on Tinder, and then we run into each other on a different dating site. I'll admit I have a bunch of dating profiles, so it was OkCupid.
People need people.
And he sends me this message, and he's like, "Okay, I've seen you twice. You can't be like super creep." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Maybe we should talk a little bit." And we started talking. We decided, we were both at the Emerald Cup. That's what we're doing. Talk a little bit more, and then he's like, "Well, why don't we meet for breakfast?" And as a responsible adult, I parked my car the night before and took a cab home, because we went and saw, what concert did we go see? Do you remember, John?
That was at the Emerald Cup. Who performed there?
Who did we go see? Oh my gosh, Slightly Stupid.
So, you stupid.
So we were at the Slightly Stupid concert, and since I was slightly stupid, I took a cab home. Actually, I was really smart, and would have been really stupid if I drove home. So I take a cab home, and then as a responsible adult, he's like, "Let's meet for breakfast." And I was like, "I gotta take a cab." He's like, "I'll pick you up." And I was like, "All right, I've seen him on 2 dating sites, and we have a few things in common. Like, you can't be that bad." So I packed my taser up. My my pink taser goes in the purse. My pink
I'm prepared for pepper spray.
the pink pepper spray is in there too. Like, you gotta be prepared. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let this guy roll up. Comes and picks me up. We go to breakfast. We totally start talking, and we find out that we are super nerdy into gardening. And
Yay.
Yay! We have something in common. And so we ended up actually walking around the Emerald Cup, looking at some of the different booths, talking about seed stuff. So the point of John being here is he's super nerdy into gardening. Yay! All right. So we're going to talk about gardening. Getting off the Tinder subject. That was a nice, normal Tinder story. I think it was probably the cleanest Tinder story.
Yeah, the rest of everybody else keeps theirs a secret.
And if you really want to see how creepy Tinder is, go on Instagram and look up the hashtag Tinder fails.
Oh, those are some tragedies.
That one or by Philippe. And those are some amazing ones if you want to have a little giggle.
Oh,
So we have a normal Tinder story. So it's 2015, and what are we doing for the season? We're getting right back into the garden season. Unless you live in Southern California, you get to garden almost year-round.
Year-round.
I hate you. Anyway. But it means that everyone else who doesn't live in the sun full-time is getting ready to start seeds.
Springtime right around the corner here.
Springtime. So you've been doing a few experiments
I have.
with seed starting.
Yes, some testing of germination techniques.
So what do you have growing on? Germination-wise, like what experiments do you have that you're doing?
We're doing multiple different types of medias, depth tests, warmths, and humidity.
Okay, so I am not a fan of this technique. What do you think of the paper towel technique?
Not a good one at all. No, I don't know.
So for our listeners out there, this is a standard technique that you get.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does that. You do a little damp paper towel, you put the seed on top of it, you wait for it to germinate, and then you touch it again and you put it into the media.
Yeah, you've just fractured all the little micro hairs that are on that taproot, getting ready to do its magic.
And you wait for the taproot to come out. And when you have the taproot, and if you have, I went and bought I can't even think of words today. My goodness. I went and got like a camera that gets really up close so you can see the taproot come out. And then you can see all this little fuzzy hairs that come out. And there is a scientific name. I promise you. I just can't think of what it is. I obviously the car ride has gotten to me. So you wait for the taproot to come out, you wait for it to grow a little bit, and then you transfer it to something else. And the point of it is to see the germination rate. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can make sure that the seed has popped and in fact broken the hull and is going to start its journey into growth.
And then you put it into a different media and wait.
Touching it, adding the extra pathogens to it,
Or
and nice little bacteria.
See, I'm with the same way. You put it into the soil and you let it start growing, or you put it into the media and you let it start growing. So paper towel test, that's what a lot of people do. You especially do it with older seeds. People go, I don't know if it's going to germinate. I'm going to do the paper towel test. You can do it if you will want. I will say the two of us say X-nay on that one.
Now you're going to want to step away from it.
So you're working on these experiments. What kind of medias are you working on for germination?
Well, we got the grow down plugs. We got the riot rooter plugs, and we've also got direct soil. But another thing that people tend to do with the seeds is they want to go ahead and submerge them until they see that taproot break the hull in a shot glass of water or something for a while. These are the strategies that we're testing out that people use. And
there's so many ways to start seeds. Now, if you're not familiar with what rock wool is, that's one you just said.
The Grodan.
Grodan, which is rock wool. It's spun basilica rock, and think of it as cotton candy. As when you're making...
Do not eat it.
Don't eat it. I'm not recommending that you eat it, even though I will say that V, who works for Grodan, I've seen her at trade shows eating pieces of basilica rock, which would be the Grodan rock wool. Don't recommend that. But how it's made is it's rock, and it's melted, and it's spun, and it's almost like cotton candy, and it becomes an inert media that is an amazing growing media, I think. And I've done clones with it. That was one of the ways that I learned how to clone is with rock wool. And now it's one of the ways it's great for pepper germination. So
there's a new one.
There's a new one. It's great for peppers. Peppers love heat, though. And you also have to remember, now I have to ask you, you're in a controlled room. I would say if you are in a house, I would recommend a heat mat.
Yes, a heat mat, a cloning dome, and a tray are going to be your best friends in this expedition that you head on here.
So with seed starting indoors, you want your prop tray. You want your heating mat, which you can find at any garden center, hydroponic shop. You can even find little strips of them that sit on your windowsill. So you need heat mat and a dome. Dome's going to hold in some of the humidity, hold in some of the moisture that way. You don't want your seeds to dry out, because what happens when your seeds dry out?
Oh, they fail on you. Or they give you nice, wonderful mutants.
Yeah, so there's a few things to do basic. So rock wool is one of them. What was the other one you were talking about?
We got the riot rooter plugs.
Riot rooter. And those plugs, and you put me on the spot now, I can't remember. What is in them? Is that the GH ones, or is that the ones from HDI? It is the HDI ones. Okay. So there's a few of the different styles out there. HDI makes those ones. What was it, the Rapid Rooter?
Yeah, correct.
The Rapid Rooter ones. They actually, this is brown, almost spongy material. And again, I've started a lot of peppers in them, and the germination success is great if the seed is viable.
Correct. it takes out a lot of the guesswork as far as the moisture that the seed's going to need. If you get those riot rooter plugs correctly watered, they pretty much take care of themselves.
And this is another one. You don't let those dry out either because they get hard when they dry out.
Oh, they turn into little rocks.
They do turn into little rocks. And actually, if we're on the screen, Saint was nice enough to bring in some of the Root Riot. And it actually includes Clonex with these ones.
Oh, very good.
I should actually show it in the right camera. Sorry. So Root Riot, you actually get great results with them. And I've used them quite a few times. So it's, again, you don't let them dry out. But that's just the issue with any seeds that you use. You do not let them dry out.
Yes, you want to keep your media nice and moist.
And you can put a nice dome on this,
That'll
hold
help
in
you.
some of the moisture. And I will say when I was using this and some of the other Media's Oasis Cubes is another one, is I would make up a mixture of like beneficial bacteria. Everyone has their own secret
A little
mixture.
great white or something. Yeah.
Great white. Everyone has their own little secret formula. And every grower I've talked to, depends on how close you get to them, they'll tell you about 98% of their recipe, depending on how nice they are. And then you get to figure out the last little secret ingredient with it.
You got to learn something.
So this is what when I know when I started to do some major growing is I had someone take me under their wing, and I soaked up so much information, and then I would go research it in books and like find out some more information. But we would always do this kind of beneficial mix and start the seeds in it or put clones in it. And if it was a viable seed and the clone was healthy and not a crappy cut, you'd get 100% germination rate every time. And let's see, what else were you doing? Soil?
Soil, correct.
What is your type of soil that you're using?
I like either a home mix, or if you're going commercial, I prefer the Happy Frog, as a lot of you guys use out there.
Yep.
Mix that with a little Light Warrior to go ahead and cut that hotness down, and you've got a pretty good mix to start a seed in.
And Light Warrior is an inert, very clean. It's meant for seed starting with it. And
Yeah, but I find it tends to be a little bit hot. If you cut it down, you'll get a better germination rate out of it.
yeah, so you can do a little bit of soil. And the nice thing about soils is if you go into a hydro shop, they have a plethora of like any kind of soil that you could think of.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say that most of it works. You do need to watch, especially if you're probably starting in 4-inch containers, something a little bit small. If you go too big, too fast, and you say you start a seed in a 20-gallon Smart Pot.
Oh, you're not going to get the warmth that it requires
You're
to
not
get
going
it
to
to
get
pop.
that, and you're going to find that it probably holds too much water, and
Yep. You drowned it.
there's a little sweet spot when you start seeds. Not too much water, not enough, I have to say.
Yep. They're persnickety.
They are persnickety. So when you get started with your growing season, there's a few ways to start seeds. And we just said a few of the medias that you can go out and do. A little bit of light. My favorite to start seeds is under a T5.
T5s are excellent. You can control the temperature of it. They have so many different wattages and sizes for these things that make them so useful.
And I have to say they're inexpensive. So if you are not an indoor gardener and say you want to do seed starts for your garden and you've been ordering stuff from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds and your local garden center and you just want to start a whole bunch of seeds to get a head start on your season, T5s is going to be the best light that you can get. It's going to be the best bang for your buck. You can use it for a short amount of time. The bulbs, replacement bulbs or tubes are so inexpensive.
It's an extremely cost-effective grow source.
And as I was on the way here and I'm texting with somebody, everyone's hitting me up for light questions because apparently we're getting ready to start gardening. And this guy's like
Everybody's excited.
He's on this kick of LEDs though.
New technology.
I'm like, sometimes I hate the LED conversation. And I'm not saying that they don't work. I'm saying they are not cost effective to start seeds under.
Yeah, that's an expensive technology right now.
Yeah, you can spend $1,200 on an LED light when you can go to the store and even get a 2-foot tubes for T5s and use that, and that's going to be less expensive, and you can use it for quite a while before you have to change out those bulbs.
Tube life is, upwards of 100,000 hours?
Something like that, yeah. And I will honestly say on my T5s, and as every gardener, I will say if you're using other bulbs, we're just talking about T5s, you don't have to change them all the time. If you are using other lighting like DEs or high pressure sodium or metal halide, you want to change those ones out a lot sooner.
Refresh that spectrum.
Refresh that spectrum. But for the shorter things, for doing seed starting, T5s is going to be the best way. So here's what we're recommending for seed starting. A good light, so it would be the T5s, a heat mat.
Got to create some springtime warmth for those seeds. They're not going to want to come out if they think it's still winter.
Exactly. So a heat mat, a prop tray, depending on what you buy, like the Root Riots, they come in a tray already. Or you can easily buy prop trays at your local hydroponic shop. And you can pick the different media. So this one, we're talking about Root Riot, but you can also get Grodan.
Yeah, and the excellent thing about the other little grow plugs and Grodan cubes is you can place those right into soil after germination once you see those roots start coming through.
And that's, okay, so we just said the things you need. So before I get too far into it, in a dome, we have to put a dome into there. But once your seeds get started, especially when it's in something like a Root Riot or Grodan are in little cubes. I think you can get sheets of 50, if I'm saying it right. I believe it's 50, but you can get sheets. You can actually cut them up beforehand. You can wait for them to pop. You wait for the taproot to come down. And for me, I like to push a little bit further and watch to see a lot more roots coming out of it.
I as well.
You want the strongest, healthiest seed starts as possible before you transplant them into another container. So I typically wait for lots of root porn to come out of here.
Yes.
Once you get a lot of that root porn, then you can transplant it into your next container.
Winning.
What size container? So say you're starting something in a Root Riot. What's the next size container would you move it into?
I like those gallon bags. If anybody's used those grow bags, they're an excellent media. Next to that was going to be, of course, Smart Pot.
And I will say I'm a Smart Pot fan. Not only are they a sponsor of A Girl in a Garden.
Oh, they're wonderful.
I love them. And so one of the things is you go into a 1 gallon. So you get a nice, healthy seed started. It's in the plug. It's ready to transplant. And you can start, say you're in a Root Riot, you can transfer into any kind of media that you want. So you can do a soil mix. You can do cocoa. You can do, if you want to do mini cubes, you can do all different kinds of medias, and you can still put the plugs into it. It's going to be just fine.
Hydro, Aero, any one of the ponics.
And how, one of the reasons I like to recommend the Smart Pots, not because they're a sponsor, because I love them. So one of the reasons I like to say you put it into a Smart Pot is those are air pruning. You can get some of the best root masses in the Smart Pot. And roots absorb nutrients from the tip.
Correct.
Just the tip. So I'm going to start laughing. I just said that on the radio again.
It's okay.
All right, so
Yeah.
sometimes I get really excited about gardening and things come out and it's so wrong. But anyway, so nutrients are absorbed from just the tip. And what happens with the Smart Pots is the actual root will hit the side of the container and it's going to actually start to go through. It'll air prune. And what it does is it forces the root to cause it to grow spindles out of the actual root. And so you get more and
Multiple tips.
You get multiple tips. And all of a sudden you get this stronger, healthier plant with better nutrient absorption. And when you have better nutrient absorption, you're going to have a healthier plant that way. That means you also need to feed the plants nutrients and take care of them. They're your babies.
Listen up.
They need love.
They need some love. So once you get it, and then the nice thing is they also, Smart Pots now has these transplanting size. I think it's a 1 gallon. So if you're going to transplant it into a larger size, actually the side it's not.
Peels open.
It peels open, and then you can transplant it into the next size up that you're going. I've also had a few people, now I have to ask your opinion on this one.
Shoot.
This one's always weirds me out. So say you have a 1 gallon Smart Pot. You have a nice healthy plant. You don't take it out of the Smart Pot, and then you transplant it into a 10-gallon Smart Pot and let it grow through. And then you transplant it into the next size that way. And I've seen it done like that a few times, and not that it doesn't work. It just weirds me out for some reason.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of confidence to know that those roots are going to go through that pot and back into the media again safely.
Now, it will go through the pot because it's not air pruning. There's actually soil around the outside, but there's
Correct.
still fabric in there. And so that's why I like using the transplanting ones, or, let it get really, really big and healthy. And depending on what type of plant I'm growing and what a good deal I got on the Smart Pot, sometimes I'll even cut them. Some people look at me and say it's wasteful, but it really depends on what I'm growing. Sometimes it's worth it. So every once in a while I'll see pictures, and it's like there's 4 Smart Pots, and then this plant is humongous, and it just keeps growing out, and it's just the strangest thing I've seen, but it works. And everyone has their own technique.
Yeah.
So, and this is why you have been doing all different kinds of seed starting.
Correct. We've been testing different theories and seeing which one actually provides the performance that people are getting the feedback on.
Now, are you using the same seeds for everything then?
I'd have
Same
used
type?
a controlled test seed group, correct.
Okay.
And we have our test subjects that are going up against the controls to find out which of you guys' theories actually performs.
So I have to ask, I know it's a little bit soon, how you're just getting this one kicked in.
Yep, we're about 3 weeks into it now. We've got our 3rd wave in the ground. And I will say some of these 3rd wave seeds that we've changed up the starting theory on are impressive. We've got some 3rd waves that have actually beat 2nd wave out of the ground.
So what medium are you liking so far the best?
I love the soil.
You love the soil.
It for some reason I can get better turnout in the soil than I can in any other grow medium.
Now, this also, it's different with every single grower. I always say I love Oasis Cubes. I can always clone in those ones 100% every time. And some people look at me and they're like, absolutely not. I can't grow a thing in there.
I can't get water to work for me.
Okay, see? And so it's different. And you learn from different people. I learned from an old school person who learned from somebody in the 70s. And we did Oasis Cubes. And it just depends on the grower. And sometimes it's like, what's your tried and true method? Should I switch everything to something I don't know anything about? Or should I do a bunch of tests to see what goes on? And sometimes you find out that soil works the best.
That's where I'm finding out here. I was pretty impressed with the Grodan Cubes that my unsteady hand was able to deal with those things. Soil's really forgiving. Whereas the hydro just is not as forgiving.
No, and it's really, well, there's a few pluses and minuses to both of them.
For beginners, let me clarify.
For beginners, yes. I will say, though, if you're growing indoors, all soil, and say you need to make a pretty fast change and you're seeing the plants kind of go downhill,
Yeah.
it can take a little bit longer as opposed to going straight hydro and be like, let me just mix up some nutrients, let me put this in here, let me put this, and you'll see the plant respond a lot faster. But tried and true method is soil, especially if you're a soil gardener. Stick with what you know and slowly integrate new. I always say, don't go from soil to hydroton. Go from soil to cocoa. Okay, are you good at that one? Let's try the next one. Why don't you get that technique all the way down before you try maybe 3 containers with a different media in there?
Yeah, go progressive steps. Don't make a huge jump. It's going to be expensive, and you'll probably fail.
And realistically, as a gardener, you're always going to kill something. It's part of the learning process.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And you can always leave it to the professionals like me, because I'm an expert at killing plants, and I'll tell you what not to do.
Hey, you got to have the acceptance to learn to move on.
So I have to say, John, thanks for coming in.
Not a problem.
talking a little bit about seed starting. We're going to take a small break, and I hope you hang out in the studio. And we're going to talk to also one of our friends who's been on the show before.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah.
DFCRadio.com.
A Girl in a Garden quick tip. Plant garlic as a companion plant to repel insects, or use garlic mixed with water as a spray. Bonus, it keeps your vampires away. For more information and tips, tune in Tuesdays at 5 p.m. at DFCRadio.com.
Here at Green Grow, we take organic gardening seriously. With our mycorrhizae products, you'll increase growth and help reduce the need to replace old, worn-out soil. We help provide electrolytes and maximize nutrient intake to make your indoor garden lush and green. So give your plants the strength that they need and breathe life into your soil with Green Grow. Find us at your local nursery or visit us at thegreengrow.com. That's the green, GRO.com.
DFCRadio.com.
You're listening to A Girl in the Garden on DFCRadio.com.
Oh, 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 no, no. Oh, 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 no. Well, this is how it starts. Two lovers in the dark on the run from the one that they call Chef Spark. 6 guns by the side and bullets round their waist. 2 shots to the sky, signal sign for the chase. The safe was nearly empty and they were nearly free, but was seen by the good eye of the mean Billy Green. And he screamed at the top of his lungs, they're on the run. It's the 2 outsiders, grab your horses and your guns. I said I wish that we could stay here, but I fear our time has come. We can ride out in the darkness, chasing the rising sun. We gotta pack our bags this instant. We're heading southbound to the next town. And if we arrive there so safely, baby, you can lay me down. Lay me down. Lay me down. always on the move. They got nothing left to lose except their guns and their wounds. Now they're crossing border, sheriff's posse on their tail. They'd rather die together than be stuck up in a cell.
Welcome back to A Girl in a Garden on DFCRadio.com.
Yeah.
So, actually, it's just John and I when we came back. So, whenever I do a live show, and I obviously have a full-time job outside of A Girl in a Garden, this is my hobby.
You mean you don't just get to do this all the time?
I wish I got to do this all the time. And actually, I will be on the Heavy Tea Grow show tomorrow night talking about my day job. So I'll be talking about lighting and Nanolux technology. So a lot of people, my listeners, don't know that I actually am the national sales manager for Nanolux technology. So I'm going to be talking some DE lights, RF filter sets tomorrow, and all kinds of the technical stuff that I don't talk about on A Girl in a Garden. Because I like to keep A Girl in the Garden a little bit
lighter.
And yeah, I just want to keep it a little bit lighter. I will say, though, as the high point, I'm going to kick off the new year pretty damn well with my job. And I'm going to Hong Kong at the end of the month for Chinese New Year's.
Oh, that's going to be a blast.
So I will say you're going to see a lot of pictures when I'm in China. I know I'll be visiting some gardening, so I'm going to incorporate a little Girl in a Garden stuff into my trip to China. So I'll be on the show, Heavy Tea Grow Show tomorrow. It's from 6 to 10 p.m. And yeah, obviously you can hear it right here, dfcradio.com. I bet they'll have some nice entertainment on our poll. We actually have so A Girl in a Garden's nice, light, fun. I talk about my cute seed germination and what to cook with the garden, and then I work with a bunch of dudes, and I love all of them, and it's fun. It's fun kind of being the only girl, but we do have a stripper pole in our studio, and it kind of cracks me up when I'm in here because I'm like, yeah.
I was wondering.
It's for you later. No.
Oh, we can get in some cardio.
It's a little bit of cardio. I actually took a pole dancing class with my old assistant, Jen, who's been on the show a few times before. And we signed up a Groupon for a pole dancing class. And we were doing it, and we were horrible. We were so bad. Finally, the teacher looks at us, the instructor, and she's like, it's okay if you guys laugh. And within 5 minutes, we have tears running down our face, and we could not stop laughing.
Giggle boxes.
Giggling the whole time. And then, there was these girls with not very much clothes on, and it was just really, really funny because they were like, maybe we should just do this at home, like in the privacy of our own place, not like 10 other people. And my friend Jen, when we walked out, she's like, you know what I have appreciation for now? I'm like, what? She's like, firemen, because they're completely clothed and they have to go down a pole. I was like, thank you, Jen. Thank you so much. So he came back. It's John and I. I actually had a few guests planned out. I tried to plan this out. I got backtracked. Sidetracked, sorry. So I have a day job. And I also do this. So I had a few things planned up, and it just didn't work out. So sometimes you just got to roll with it. And so we're talking seed starting. And we realized when we went to break, we totally forgot to talk about something super important. And that would be, I can't even say it.
Go ahead, Jen. Say it.
All right, I'm going to say it. So we were talking about penetration.
Oh,
and
man.
We're actually talking about soil penetration and how far you put in a seed when you are seed starting. And one of the issues is you go too deep.
People love to go too deep.
I don't know. So that's one of the things. You bury the seed too deep, and you don't have the taproot come out, or the taproot, it just doesn't work. So one of the things you kind of have to judge is how far the seed is going into
your media.
And depending on what you're growing, especially lettuces and some of the stuff, there's directions on the back of the seed packet. Highly recommend reading them. Don't always follow them, but at least read them and then test out on your own. So is this one of the things you've been testing with your seed starting?
Yep. People say, an inch. Some people say 3/4. Some people say just throw it on top of the dirt.
And I've always found even the throwing on top of the dirt actually works pretty well.
As long as you have your humidity to keep that seed moist, she will break that hull.
Now, switching back to root riots or your grow down, do you ever have any of them germinate and just like kind of commit suicide and just like pop out of the hole?
Oh, yes. We've even had a number of them pop out upside down this week.
And you're like, come on, can you just get that taproot to go back in there and germinate?
It's pulling an ostrich trick. It's got its head buried in the dirt, butt up in the air.
So we have to say we didn't talk about soil penetration. It's one of those things. Look at the back of the seed packet. See what it says. Lettuces, some of these other ones you can throw on top. It's going to germinate. It's going to be just fine. Other ones you can mix into it just really slightly, or ones you actually have to bury a little bit more. And they need that vigorous root growth and a taproot to come out, and it needs 3/4 of an inch of soil over it.
With each breed, you're going to find they've got their own temperament and they need their requirements. They're like women, a little bit temperamental.
Did you just say women are temperamental?
Oh. Exactly.
Okay, I might have to agree with that one. So, yeah, I'll agree with that. Going on to that, since we've almost ran out of our hour, which has gone really fast, I have to say thanks, John.
Thank you.
I think we talk really good back and forth about gardening.
This
is why we met off of Tinder.
It was inevitable.
You want to take a grow question?
Yeah, we actually have someone on the line. So I actually didn't give out the phone number because we were going to have guests, but someone's on the line. And let me see if I can actually pick it up without hanging up on him. So it's the number 1 that I push. Yep. Hey, John.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
They're doing good. Here in Kentucky, it's kind of cold, but indoor gardening still going strong.
Is this John from Facebook? Are we friends on Facebook, John?
Yeah.
We are. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good.
So, what's going on?
Just real quick, a couple of topics on, you're talking about, starting seeds.
Mm-hmm.
So one is transplanting. When you, like I use rooting plugs, and then, when you, like you said, when you get your good root pouring going, you're ready to go into the next container, say a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I like to add my mycorrhizae then.
See, we missed some of this stuff. That is actually what you're saying right there is one of the best things. And mycorrhizae, that's the time when you add the stuff to promote root growth.
Your beneficials.
Your beneficials. So you like to dust it with the mycorrhizae is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. I usually, I grow in cocoa and perlite and grow stones together.
That is a good combo.
Very nice mix.
Yeah, and I found actually we had a customer appreciation day at our hydroponic store locally, New Earth Organics, and Smart Pots gave us some transplanters as samples.
And those are the ones that they aren't
kind of overlap around the
Thank
outside
you.
so you can peel them off a little easier.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier is I really like transplanting into those because I know I'm going to transplant into a larger size after that. And that's, again, when you said mycorrhizal is when you are doing your root plug, you definitely want to dust it with that. I am a huge fan of mycos. I also like azos, which is a nitrogen-fixing bacteria from Extreme Gardening.
Azos is awesome.
Azos is amazing. Love the mycos product as well.
To the Extreme Gardening folks. Yeah.
I have to give a big shout out. They just sent me a little care package, and I love that stuff. I use it for everything. But they work great with Smart Pots. So I like to put it into the transplanting one, and then when it's gotten really nice, big, and healthy, and I'm transplanting into the next one, you want to use those products again when it goes into the third container.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I like to use them both times. Every time you transplant, and then even if you're getting good, vigorous growth and you're happy with it, maybe even sometimes, I'll make it into a drench and go ahead and water it in.
Yep.
So it's really getting to all the new sites.
And you definitely want mycorrhizal. Really does its best job when it actually touches the root.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you're going to get the root promotion.
The roots love it.
I'm sorry to have to cut you short. I have to say thank you so much in adding that in because I kind of got sidetracked in traffic and you forget a little points. But we have to end the show because we have another show coming on after this. And that is Grow with Grubby Cup. And he has a new episode. So I have to say thank you so much, John, adding in those tips because they were amazing.
Yeah, great show. Appreciate it as always. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening, as
Have a
always.
good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So as I said, we have another show coming on. It's 6 p.m. It's Grow with Grubby Cup every Tuesday, right after A Girl in a Garden. Again, tune in tomorrow to the Heavy Tea Grow Show from 6 to 10 p.m. on dfcradio.com. And next week, I'm going to be talking greenhouses because I went and visited Forever Flowering Greenhouses. And when I grow up and get rich, I want a light depot greenhouse, and I made a video of it. So tune in next week for that. So thank you, John.
Thank you.
And until next week, this is Emily on A Girl in a Garden on dfcradio.com.